Hey, I guess we're there. We're there. Let me see. Did I see myself? Yep. Hold on for a second. There you go. Anyway, good evening and welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. And I see we got some folks in there. Catalea. Hello and good evening. And we should have a good conversation tonight. I've always wait for some folks to show up. And you can see the title. The way I wrote it out is Mixed Signals in the Sexual Marketplace. And to be more specific, we're talking about men told to have dick discipline and women are being told to be 304's, enjoy your life. And you got time and just explore. And I think uh, we need to explore the kind of advice that we give young folks. I think that when men tell men one thing and women tell women another, I think there's like mixed signals and maybe this whole stream we're going to try to bring those two things together. So we're speaking in one voice, and I think the glue, the word that is the glue between both of these pieces of advice is called consequences. I think that if we talk about sex, both to men and both to women, in terms of the consequence of the actions, I think we should be able to relate, especially if we're willing to give them some of our own experiences and let them know this is why we're saying the things we're saying, as opposed to just dictating to them what the hell we want them to hear. Uh, so I got a few things, I got a few clips that I'm a play as always. And then I'm going to start with talking about the men first. Dr. Steele, how you doing? If you ever want to come up, you could come up. And when I get up later, after I go through my little rant, who else I have? What's that? Vigoda D. Oh, hello. How you doing? Um, I have a few other things that I want to talk about first, and then we're going to go into a clip number one, and that's going to take a while. So I'm just kind of letting some folks get into the chat, and I'm gonna get started. And of course, I'm gonna talk about the men first, and then I'll talk about what I think the women are saying wrong to women. And I'm trying not to be judgmental on either one. I'm saying, listen, I think we need more folks to speak. Don't be condescending, but speak to people about if we want them to behave differently, we got to tell them about the consequences of their actions, both men and women. I think that's the deal. Hey, A team, hello, how you doing? So I really think I think we could find a way to reach them. I know how I reach men when I talk to them, right? Of course, at my age, I've had on both sides, right? I've had my dating phase where I was, I guess looking back on it, thank God I wasn't that bad with the honeys. I mean, I can say that. But when I found my wife, all that stuff had to stop, and I could tell people why it stopped and how I dealt with it. And having one woman for it'll be 37 years on Thursday. My anniversary is on Thursday, so it'll be 37 years. Now I don't know how sick my wife is of me, but I'm not sick of her at all. I kind of like her and stuff. Anyway, so we're gonna do a couple of things. Also, we're gonna get the hell out of the house. And I'm saying that, but there's going to be somebody here, so don't be doxing me. Anyway, but so let's get started. I got a couple of things I want to say. Again, I'm going to talk about the men first, and then we'll talk about what the ladies need to be telling the other ladies. And I have a couple of things that helps that argument. All right. So first, about the men, and let me just tell you a little bit about a couple of things and how my conversation gets started with men, especially men who are still thinking about getting married. And I got a lot of younger cousins. I had when I was working, there was a lot of young engineers that were men that talked about getting married. And one of the things that was a common theme is that all men said, "Well, I got to get the women out of my system. I'm waiting to get married after I get it all out of my system," and all that kind of stuff. And then I have to tell them, listen, that's not the way to look at it. when you talk about getting it out of your system, that's the wrong way to look at it. Because if you're wired sexually to like women, the beauty of women, sleeping with women, something that God ordained us to naturally want to do, you're not going to get it out of your system. You are not going to get it out of your system. What you have to do is make a choice. You have to make a choice that you can live with and live by. And those are the choices that you say when you take those vows. And that's why the vows need to mean something to you. And you can't just be going through some ritual bullshit when you talk about getting married, you know? So listen, you understand that if you find a woman of your dreams, or the woman you love, or the women you, or the woman you want to dedicate your life to, because understand you're going to be more obligated to her than you're going to expect from her back to you. If she's that kind of woman and you want to stay faithful, you have to understand that you're going to still want to bang out other honeys. You're going to have to make decisions not to do it. And here's one way of understanding that. If you want to get married, understand what your triggers are. You got to understand what triggers you to want to open a door, a sexual doorway with the women you choose. And once you understand what those triggers are, those environments that you put yourself in, you have to avoid those environments. You have to avoid putting yourself in situations where you tempt yourself where you could be weak. Unless you have a proven track record of being able to turn down women, don't tempt yourself, because you can tip over the side. So that's one way to understand your sexual triggers with women, and avoid them. And this way it'll help you stay faithful to your wife, if you ever get married. So that's just one way. There's probably all kinds of ways, but the one thing you need to have in your head is that if you're wired to like the beauty of women and sleeping with women, that shit doesn't go away. And and just ask me how I know. It just doesn't go away. You just have to exercise control. And that's a form of dick discipline, but it's not just dick discipline. The results is the discipline part. You just have to come to an understanding, in order to exercise it. Once you understand the consequences of opening that door. So while we're still waiting for people to come in, I got another one for you. See, in my personal life, I could tell you why I don't cheat on my wife. I could tell you why. If anybody wants to hear me tell them why I don't cheat on my wife, put them one in the chat. Put on. If you want to hear how I overcame the urge to fool around, so anybody just put a one in the chat. If you're there, put a one in the chat. You know, uh, and just let me know I'm not just speaking out of turn. And okay, y'all, I know y'all can hear me. Okay, I see a one. That's good. Yeah, that's good. At least one. That's all I need. If I get more, great. Okay. Well, here's the deal for me. Uh, I don't cheat on my wife because before I got married, one of the things I realized is that I'm not one of those guys where women just come up with and want to give me some box. That was never my experience, and that's not my life. In order for me, when I was sexually active outside of my marriage before I got married, I had to cultivate relationships. I had to actually cultivate a relationship with a woman in order for her to want to like me enough to have sex with me, right? And when I say cultivate, I don't mean trick. I don't mean do any of that shit. I'm talking about I had to actually, befriend the ladies and stuff. I've said this before on these panels. I don't think people believe me. I actually liked all the women I slept with. I actually liked them, and in return, they liked me too. So getting back to me being married, right? So once I got married, I could never see myself cultivating a relationship with a woman other than my wife after I said I do. I mean, I couldn't see because it has so many, the consequences of doing something like that would be catastrophic, right? I mean, I wouldn't have those other than just go pay a prostitute, which I would never do. If I was going to start an affair with a woman, I'd have to be cultivating a relationship. And if I have a whole wife at home, what do I look like cultivating a relationship with another woman? That shit sounds crazy. And it's just like, well, is that the only reason why you didn't cheat on your wife? Well, it's a big reason. But one, I didn't want to, but it was one of the reasons why I recognized what I'd be getting into, because I recognized the consequence of cultivating a relationship with a side chick. So a lot of times when men get in trouble, they don't really exercise. They don't really realize the consequences of their actions, and that's why so many men get into trouble. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit: consequence. If I cultivate a relationship with a woman, that means she likes me, right? That means if I'm having an affair with a woman who likes me, that's just gonna go south. Because if I can't give her what she wants, that man, yeah, I can see my wife getting a midnight phone call. That's crazy. And so I avoided those situations. I just avoided those situations. And there were some pluses to do that. But one of the things that I mean, does that make sense? If I was like a Casanova or a Chad, I still would say it'll be a different reason why I wouldn't fool around. But I'm not one of those guys. I can just tell you why I didn't do it, right? Because, like I said, I couldn't see cultivating a relationship. And here's the thing: that a lot of men, uh, I guess, I think men realize this, but they try to ignore it. And I've said this before in these channels too. If you're an average dude or a guy who women like you, and they give you their access to their womb, they want to sleep with you, they want to have sex with you, and they keep inviting you back, they're going to catch feelings. Not to say that you won't, but you might still be able to compartmentalize that. But man, man, every single woman that I fooled around with more than once or twice or three times, they had some feelings for me. That without fail, or else they wouldn't invite you back. And it's as simple as that, man. And here's how you find out, fellas. If you're out there fooling around dudes and you don't know this, let me give you something. As soon as she says, "I thought you were gonna call me the other day," or a little shit like that, "I thought you were gonna be able to be free this weekend." Those are like little those are little signs that she starts to care whether you stay on message with her. Even that little thing, that's the first sign. Her expectations of you is the first sign. If a woman don't have no feelings for you, she don't expect shit. But if she does, she's gonna start expecting, and it just starts out small, you know, and it'll snowball from there. So if you don't take anything else from this conversation, understand that if you're still out there banging out chicks and they inviting you back, they like you. For whatever reason, they like you. Okay. I mean, they like you in your 2 minutes that you could last. How about that? Anyways, so I just think it's funny. I mean, am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I think I'm right. Okay, uh, so getting back to the point. Listen, dick discipline in general is not about abstinence, and that's what we have to tell young men. God ordained us with the desire to have sex with women, and He did that for a purpose. He did that for a purpose. Now, how we wield that gift is important, but it's a gift nonetheless. Regular heterosexual men, whether you're a good man, whether you're a cad, whether you're a pookie, whether you're Ray Ray, whether you're rich, if you're a regular, normal uh, heterosexual man, I'm not talking about the gays, they got their own shit, but if they're men too, they could fit into the group. But let's just talk about straight people. You're going to want to have sex with women. So, and chicks, don't act like you don't understand that, but you do. But I'm just saying it out loud so there will be no misunderstandings. So, what is dick discipline in the light of the fact that you need to control yourself, right? And one of the things you have to realize is that every encounter with a woman opens the door. And fellas, every encounter you have with a woman opens the door. And behind that door there could be consequences. Sometimes those consequences are, are insignificant because you'll put your pants up, you'll never see her again. You banged her out, you were probably so anyway, and shit, she's not gonna call you back, and you're just happy she didn't laugh in your face. Okay, great. So the consequences there, you protected yourself. You had a rubber on because you didn't know the chick from Adam. And so in chances are there's no consequence that's going to come back on you. But there are other consequences that you can't, that if you're careless, you won't be able to avoid. The big one is disease. A lot of men open themselves up to diseases because a woman's womb is an incubator. It just is. You know, it's warm, it's dark, and shit lives in there. And they got to take care of it. So you're trusting a woman taking care of herself, and you don't know her from Adam. You know what I'm saying? So once you go in there raw, you're taking a big risk. So is she, but we're talking about men right now. And a lot of men don't give a shit, right? So that they don't care about the consequences. They just want to take care. They got the moment they've been looking for. And so if I'm an older guy talking to a young guy, I talk about the consequences of opening that door with every woman that you encounter. It's not that I'm never going to tell you not to have sex because I know how it was when I was 17. I know how it was when I was in college. I know how it was when I got my first job and my first paychecks after I graduated. I just know how it was. And you can't tell men, get on your grind, don't worry about women. Oh no, man, they'll be there. But in the meantime, you know what? Here's another one for you fellas. Beating your meat when you have a girlfriend is much more pleasurable than when you don't. This is let that shit stew for a second. When you masturbating because you don't have no other outlet, you're doing it out of necessity and all of this kind of stuff. But if you have a girlfriend, she ain't around, and you just want to rub one out, at least you have the memories of the last encounter. You know you're gonna get the real thing at some point, and so you rub one out and shit, so you could just chill out for the night. So you got at least you have a fantasy. But if you rubbing one out and you don't have no girlfriend to ever have the real thing, you know, it is not as satisfying as knowing that maybe next weekend you're gonna be banging one out with the real thing. So that's just a little tidbit that I just came up with. It could be factual, it could just be personal. I don't know. But if you think about it, you'll know I'm right. So this disease. So the consequence of catching a disease should be enough to give men poise, but a pause, I should say, poise and pause. But it doesn't seem to be true. Okay, so the other one is shooting up the club. To either you take a woman's word for it that she's protected, and you shoot up the club. And once you shoot up the club, my guy, you have no control over the outcome. None. Absolutely none. And if you have anything going for yourself, you understand what you just did. And it should frighten the shit out of you. It really should. So when I talk to young guys, I said, that's what I say. When you ever thought about being in a situation where you have no control, none, not by the woman, not by the law, nowhere, you have no control. So if you like the chick and you wanted a baby and she doesn't, you lose. If you don't like the chick and she wants the baby and you don't want the baby, you lose. And if you lose. And then if she has a baby and you have a job and she puts you on child support, you lose. The baby doesn't lose, but you lose, especially if you don't like the chick. So you got to deal with this person for the rest of your life, really. But you're paying a tariff for your stupid mistake from 18 to 36 or 40, depending on what state you're in. And whether you have a relationship with the kid or not, that's secondary. The real problem with child support is not paying the money. It's that it's all under threat of jail. It's on the same coin as the penal system. It's just another side. So you mess up, You could go to jail and you could lose all your, I don't know what level of felony it is, but it's not just a misdemeanor. You know what I'm saying? And it's stupid, right? So the state wants his money. They don't give a shit about the kid. So now you're paying. I know people, just like you know people who are on child support, with or without anything to do with the kid that they were paying for. I don't see how that doesn't scare people to death. I mean, the disease should probably scare you to death, but paying money to a woman that for a kid that you don't even want to know, it sounds like a tough thing for 20 something years. Now, for the guys who want to have a relationship with the kid, then the child support shit doesn't matter. I will try to work out something where I don't have to be on child support. But then again, you need to do that. You need to put yourself on child support. Because in a lot of states, you could pay a woman all this money, and if the state wasn't giving their piece and she turns on you, you got to pay the arrears. So the consequences are deep. So when you talk to men and young men about discipline, you got to let them know that discipline is not just about not having sex, right? It's not. You can have sex, but you have to understand that you open this door, and behind that door, behind the green door was a porno flick, but it could be a white door, whatever. But behind that door is a consequence, and so understand this. And then the other thing is when men tell you to be on your grind and focus on, where you're going in life and all that good stuff. That's good advice. But the truth of the matter is you could do all that and bang out chicks at the same time, or make love to them, or whatever one you want to use, have sex with them, make love to them, all that good mushy shit. You could do that and be successful at the same time. A revelation. When I didn't really start being sexually active until I was 17, but it didn't stop me from filling out my college forms to go to college. When I went to the University of Buffalo, all I could think about was who's next, but it didn't stop me from applying to chemical engineering school and taking my classes. It didn't stop me from being in a frat. It didn't stop me from running a chapter. It didn't stop me from doing anything I planned to do in my life. Uh, I know just having a girlfriend was a relief. Talking to somebody, having somebody in your corner was a relief. So it's not a burden to have a girlfriend. It's not a burden to have sex unless you let it rule you. And we'll get to that later on. So yeah, you could be on your grind and do great things at the same goddamn time. Trust me. You just got to keep the main thing the main thing. So just these mixed messages we give people are crazy because I'm no great shakes. I didn't think having a girlfriend at all stopped me from doing anything beneficial in my life. And it certainly didn't happen when I got married. My life started to streamline once I found my wife. And we found each other, however you want to put it. I had no burdens on the plans that I had moving forward, and neither did she, by the way, because marrying me didn't stop her from doing the things she had to do or wanted to do. I encouraged those things, So there you have it, And it's not. I'm not even giving you a perfect scenario. I'm just giving you a snippet of two people who wanted to be together. And forget about the marriage part. When I was just sexual, I didn't have a million different girls, so let's not go there. I just had enough to know the difference, you know. And believe it or not, I took a little bit of nuggets from each one of them because everybody was different. Hey, what's going on, Sir Hill? How you doing now? So I'm gonna be letting people up in a little while. I just want to keep on my rant for a second. Um, so one of the things that I say to guys is that never apologize for wanting to have sex with a woman. That's not something we need to apologize for our libido, and we shouldn't let anybody try to shame us out of wanting to have sex, right? Especially if we want to be responsible about it because we understand the consequences of doing it. You know what I'm saying? So uh, it's just so much. Listen, I got one for you. Listen, as men, we have to care about the consequences of our actions. And so do women, but I'll get to you guys later. I'm gonna keep saying that. So we're just talking about the men, right? The more the consequences are in the forefront of our mind, and we behave according to the magnitude of those consequences, the stronger your discipline will be. Again, and once you understand the magnitude and the respect and the consequences of your actions, and you know how to behave accordingly, the stronger your discipline will be. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, it's really not any more simple than that. Understanding consequences for not just having sex or anything in life is a good thing, right? That means you're going to be measured before you make a move. So, so again, going back to dick discipline for men, you got to make sure that you tell them dick discipline is consequence driven. It just is. It's consequent. And even with that, you know, men still mess up, right? Even understanding that. So when people say it's age dependent, yeah, but not solely. It's age dependent, yeah, because the older you get, the more your consequences in life should be right in front of you. But uh there's a whole bunch of old dudes who mess up because they lack dick discipline. I'm gonna just go through three of them, and I'll be real quick. Ime Udoka, the coach of the Boston Celtics. He's got all of the sixes that the women want, right? And he's rich, and he was unmarried. But with all the women he could bang out, he decides to have sex with the wife of a vice president of the Boston Celtics. Now, I think an 18-year-old would be smarter than that. This dude is 48 years old. How could he be such an idiot? Right? That's what I'm saying. A woman is okay, but of all the women he could have banged out, you're gonna bang out a wife with three children, of a VP in an organization that employs you. I mean, how can that be? It doesn't make any sense. That's why nobody had any kind of sympathy for him, because he was an idiot. Okay. How about Bill Clinton? You're the president of the free world, and some chubby chick comes in and shows you her thong, 18, 20-year-old shows you her thong, and all you could think about is banging her out until she coaxes you to blow a load all over her face and her dress that she saved. And you're the president. Now, again, so, and here's the biblical one for you biblicalites out there. How about David sending Uriah to his death so he could bang out his wife Bathsheba? How about that one? And how about Bathsheba bathing in front of him, and because she was hypergamous and she wanted one of her kids to be the son of a king. But this is not about the women, but he was the one who should have been more responsible, because women naturally want the top dog, right? But he had his best soldier killed. Not just had him killed, he told the soldiers, his best soldiers' men, not to protect him in battle. That's how bad he wanted Bathsheba. So dig that. So I'm telling you, men have always given up the ghost for women when it comes to sex. The consequences be damned, right? So those of us who have gone through what they call the law of sexual transmutation, I don't know if I did or not. I just kind of understand you have to put sex into its right bucket, right? So so the big thing I'm trying to tell everybody up here while I'm rambling, and you're hearing me, is that men have to be honest. If you're the older man talking to a young man about sex, you have to be honest. Honest from the standpoint that when you was his age, you were banging the honeys out, and you got lucky, or you have some secrets you don't want to tell nobody, and or you dodged the bullet, and they're kind of lucky, whatever. You can't be condescending, but you have to give a little bit of yourself to be able to be a good teacher, because a person has to know that you understand where they're coming from. And if you're a man, you understand the sexual urges of other men, right? So you can't deny them their their uh their natural state of wanting to have sex with women. You have to just guide them by saying there's a consequence to every door you open. And if you step through that door, but you understand the consequences, well, then you know what? We don't have to say no more because you're taking that risk with your eyes open. And you can still make a mistake, but at least you weren't ignorant. And you can't feign ignorance. Okay. So that would be my goal, right? I hope that helps somebody. Uh, and here's another thing, and this is the last one. Before I want to go to the clip, Black David, here's one more thing I want to say. And if anybody wants to come up when the clip comes up, we can, and we'll have some conversation. Listen to where we are right now in our society, and ask yourself why uh, the powers that be, and mostly on the extreme left, are trying so hard to break families up, trying so hard to destroy the natural inclination between men and women to cleave to each other and form nuclear bonds that build society. And yet, listen, biologically, they're telling us that there's more than two sexes. At last count, they're saying it's 51 different sexes. So they're trying to assault us from a biological standpoint, where women black women, black and white, or white, who have menstrual cycles every month, have given birth to babies, are reticent to even describe what a woman is because they want to protect some chick with dick, chicks with dicks. It doesn't make any sense. But the cabal that runs the country is telling you that you have to be scared to mention what you are. But thank God for the Supreme Court that recently shot down the Biden's changes to Title IX. And women, you got, I don't give a shit what you women say. You don't like the Supreme Court because Roe v. Wade. They did y'all a tremendous favor, even though you're not doing it for yourself. It should be more than just Riley Gaines talking about this. Uh, Title IX, I'm old enough to realize what women went through to get Title IX passed and what Biden and Harris try to do to Title IX and will do when she gets in is absolutely absurd, disgusting, and you should really be concerned about that. Culturally, they're trying to break men and women apart by debauchery in the music and in practice, by the feminists telling women that sexual promiscuity is empowerment. It's not. It's not. It's not empowerment. You know. So we'll get to that when I talk about women. But the culture and environmentally and economically, they're trying to back up this new debauchery by passing laws that make it illegal for parents to tell their kids to have control over their children. So if their kid wants to go get his balls cut off, he can do it, and the parents have no say in it. That California already passed a law like that. So let me tell you, they're trying real hard to destroy what God put on this earth naturally, you know, and a lot of people are missing it because of one ideology over the other. But it's not just a man thing. Women should be really concerned. It's a natural plan that men and women be together, and there's a natural order to things. Even if you don't like it, there just is, And yeah, the man is in charge. You know why? You know why men is in charge? Because men are willing and obligated to do for their wives a whole lot more than we'll ask our wives to do for us. Not just that we probably will never ask our wives to die for us. That's just the most extreme case. But just keeping the family together, doing the things we have to do so our wives can sleep better at night, whether she's working or not. That's what a man will do. We don't ask our women to sacrifice like that. I'm talking about a guy who has his shit together. A woman. If you're a man and you lose everything, you're on the clock, buddy. You are on the clock with your woman. You just are. So we don't ask, what we ask for our women is just respect us for the most part. Respect me when you're in my presence and respect me when you're not. And all the other things come under that. So, your expectations of my wife's expectations of me, even if she doesn't say it, is a whole lot greater than I would ask her to do for me, even though she doesn't. That's just the way it is, because men are supposed to lead their households. And it always works better that way, by the way. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Most women inherently want their men to be the leaders, whether they like it or not. And it always proves itself out in the long run. So, hey, Black David, put on this clip just before you play it. This is Anton Daniels 3 years ago, and I wasn't looking at him back then, but I listened to his message here, the first clip, and his message is pretty much the same as it is today. And then he gets into a dialogue with one of these ladies up here. And after this, anybody wants to come up, why don't you come up? We can shoot it before I go ahead and do my rant for the women. Let's roll. Hopefully it works.
I'm just saying that from my experience, I see people.
Well, you said that you
out.
disagree. You said that you disagree.
Yeah, and then I also said that I didn't hear you say that you work first, and so I was thinking like you saying like I just travel to work and not do anything, and I wanted to shed light that there are people out there wilding out, like doing all kinds of things.
Yeah, because they're weak. Because they're more driven by the things that they desire in their immediate future instead of being focused on the thing that actually add value to their life. See, let me help you to understand something. When a woman does not have to subject herself to the possibility that she has to be entertaining in that way, in which she can be completely focused on the things that she's focused on. See, the things that guys don't understand is that women are smarter than us, right? They're smarter than us. They add more value. Look, the greatest game in the world is chess. But if you really study a chessboard, you'll understand that it really tells a story about history. And that's the beautiful thing about it. That's why even though the king is to be protected, the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. Wars have been started, won, and lost based off of women, right? And so when you start to take that into consideration and you understand what the bag really means, then you know that I employ a lot of women. The majority of people that I employ are women. But one of the reasons that I'm so successful is because they'll die for me. They'll go off a bridge for me because they operate in a space to where they're completely in their element, and that they don't have to worry about anything other than doing the thing that they're absolutely great at. And so when you exercise discipline, even when it comes to me, right? So I'm married. I've been married for 17 years since I was 22 years old. I'm 39 now, right? Wildly successful, millionaire, started multiple businesses, the whole 9 yards. The thing about it is that the way I've been able to become successful is that I understand that everything is business. And so when I think about everything being business, I'm always focused on the thing that would drive me down or take away from my value. And me intersecting personal with business is bad business. Even side chicks, right? I have the option to exercise, right? I can do whatever I want and get away with it. However, I also understand that side chicks is bad business because I understand the value of my time. You got a side chick.
Well, it depends on what kind of side chick you have, though.
No, anytime, any minute. See, let me tell you something. It's 8,760 hours in a year. And last year I made 1.2 million. That means that my time is worth roughly between $136 and $142 an hour. Any hour that I spend with you is time wasted. Time is my currency, and I understand the value of my time. So I'm never going to waste it on anybody that does not add value to my life.
But some people need a side chick, and that's what adds value to their life.
How do you know that?
How does that add value to my life?
Some people need that. Some people aren't fulfilled in their relationships, and
that's because they're chasing happiness. And nobody should ever chase. No. Nobody should ever chase happiness. Ever. You chase growth. And the way that you chase growth, because happiness is subjective. I've seen two bums sit under a viaduct and be happy together. That's not what you should be chasing. You should chase growth, and growth causes you to be uncomfortable. And the way that you get uncomfortable is by putting yourself in a position that you can do things that other people can't. And that's the reason why there's people that are successful and people, even if you look at the Bill Gates of the world, if you look at all of the successful men that have had side chicks, we're having conversations about their side chicks when they've done all of this great thing and their legacy is now tainted because they were unable to control themselves.
Is it tainted? I don't think it's tainted. I think it shows. I think
nobody
it shows
is
that
talking
there's
about how great Bill Gates are. They only talking about how many women he had at work.
I mean, because we've had that conversation for years.
That's common.
So we know he's.
We know Microsoft. We all have Microsoft. So what else do we have to talk about?
What you mean?
It's news. It's new. It's new gossip.
Yeah.
Again, this is the reason why I'm assuming that you're single, right?
Who?
You.
Very happily married, baby.
Oh, you happily married?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I digress on that. So let me apologize.
A lot of people do because of the way. I get you. You're not the first to think that.
But the interesting thing about it is that your mindset is off when it comes to business. It's completely off. And there's plenty of men. I'm surrounded by them all the time. I know doctors. I know lawyers. I know accountants. I know some of the greatest men that have some of the greatest net worths. And I'm trending towards being a decamillionaire, right? All of the men around me are disciplined. They don't subject themselves to that lifestyle at all because they have greater things that they're trying to achieve. And none of this nonsense feeds into any of that greatness.
But some people thrive when they have. I just want to back up too because we don't really know each other. So my
whole life is online. The last 8 years.
I know. I'm just saying right now. I don't really know you. So I'm just saying once you make these accusations or whatever, like my mind being off when it comes to business may not be true unless you're just saying that because I feel like that there is a place in some people's lives for side chick. Is that why you said that?
There's no.
But there may be because it depends on the individual. And that's just what I'm challenging. It's just it depends on the individual. Some men need several women, like in polygamy. You need several wives to fulfill. Well, let them be undisciplined, but it works for them.
Anton,
it doesn't work.
You can be weak or strong.
Listen. Just because we live in a free country and you can do anything you want, don't mean it worked for them.
You should.
Anton,
don't mean it worked for them.
Anton, if then why is Bill Gates great if he had side chicks?
What are you talking about?
Like he's great and he has side chicks.
It's not. But here's the thing about it, and this is the part that people don't understand. It's not about being great. Hold on. I'm gonna answer your question. Yeah. It's not on the table when it comes to the thing that I was supposed to see will still be tainted because I have that blemish on his record. And there's plenty of men in history that have that blemish. And when a conversation comes to them, often at times they refer to that blemish before they refer to all of the greatness that comes along with it.
But Anton, didn't you already do that? So
shall I continue or you're muted?
Listen, hold on for a second. Let me talk to the folks who just came up for a second, and then we can go to this next part.
Okay, now Demonte. We are Demonte Green in audio.
I missed. Who's talking?
Demonte Green. Yeah, there tend to be some kind of lag.
Yeah,
I'm noticing that.
Muted. Somebody's not muted.
Yeah, go ahead. I hear you now. Go ahead.
I said I was gonna let y'all continue, but if somebody's
all
not
right,
muted.
okay. Well, let me continue. Let's let Anton Daniels finish up, and then we'll get back to you then.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Yeah, go to item 10. Yeah, 10-minute mark.
10-minute mark. Give me a second. Okay. I need to. Just a second. 10-minute mark.
The happiness, the money, all that stuff. It's not just about making money. It's not just about being rich. All of the money come along with it.
So you're
That's
not
exactly all it is.
You're not allotted some time for yourself. Sometimes to be weak.
That comes with it. No,
to make
no,
mistakes.
no. Ain't no such thing as weakness. I don't believe in it. And this is the problem with society today, is because so many people have subjected themselves to this mindset that it's okay to be weak because they've been raised and coddled and society has allowed for it. But that's not how real men operate.
Being weak could be subjective, because what you're calling weak, I don't
Every
think that's
argument
weak.
that you make is in favor of weakness, happiness, subjecting yourself to stuff that does not align with doing great things. And I don't understand
to fit in your world and to want your path. Like, but what about those people who don't give a damn about being a deca millionaire?
Oh no, we gonna move them off the board. Those are what we call pawns. We cool with that.
I'm not, because the pawns are on the board, and if they get past you, they become the more powerful.
What is your argument? What exactly are you saying?
My argument is that people.
Wait. Let me ask my question. Because every single thing that you said while I've been on this whole podcast is all in favor of negativity. So what is your argument exactly?
No.
Every single thing you said, nothing.
There's nothing negative about what I say. No, what do you mean negative about people being able to
argue in favor of doing the wrong thing? So what exactly is
the wrong thing in your eyes?
Yeah.
You're not God, dude. You don't end. You don't put a period.
What do being God have to do with? What do being God have to do with?
Because you think that your way is the right way.
Wait.
And now you want to call it negative.
You just said out of your own mouth that you know people when the cat's away, the mice will play.
I do.
So if they're not doing it in open without any kind of reservation with their partner knowing it, how is that the right thing to do in any way, shape, or form?
Because they feel like they can't live their lives out loud because they're going to get judged by people sitting on the internet saying that they're doing the wrong thing or whatever. Because their book has been written for them. Because their book has been written for them. Yeah, because their book has been written for them. That's why you got download men.
Yo, if you can't stand on your truth, if you can't do it with your backbone, and that means that you're weak. You shouldn't be doing it unless you can do it.
I agree, but I feel like society comes down on people and they can't be themselves because excuses. And my excuse is that I feel like people are so judgmental and they put their own beliefs on people, and you can't just be. You can't be born and just be who you want to be, because you have to follow everyone's path that they have written out for you instead of just being.
You're right. You can't just be, because the beautiful thing about this country is that you got the freedom to do what you want, but you don't have freedom from consequences. And the thing about it is that when you start putting things in a context and you start paying attention to how all of these people are operating, what they're doing and what they're failing to do is take responsibility and accountability for all the other people that they affect as a result of it too. Because when you down low and you can't do the thing that you're supposed to do, and you can't be honest with your partner, and you can't live your life in the open, what happens is you start to affect other people around you. That's why you got so many kids that don't have fathers. That's why you got so many broken families. That's why you got all of these people that feel like they can do what they want to do and have sex, but don't take the responsibility that come along with it after you get the results. I don't subject myself to that mindset. If you're going to do it, then do it and follow through on all of the things that come along with it. Don't just say I can do whatever I want to do because it makes me happy, because you're leaving a lot of collateral damage in your wake. And then other people got to come behind you and pick up the pieces for all of the crap that you're doing. I gotta deal with all of these men on a regular basis that's broken because somebody told them that they can do whatever they want to do without being accountable for themselves. And that's the problem. And Clement, no, I coach hundreds of men. I've coached thousands of men to being successful, of turning their lives around. And somewhere along the line, somebody told them that you can do what you want to do because it makes you happy. And that's trash. Because somebody like me then got to come behind. And although I do all the good and I live my life like an open book, and I try to be the exact reflection of what I would want my daughter to marry and what I think all of these dudes should really model themselves by, then you come behind and tell me that I'm not God. Ain't nobody trying to be God. I'm trying to be the thing that we need to be instead of championing the stuff that's wrong. And that's why I questioned you in the first place and said, well, what is your position? Because everything that you're saying is all based off of letting people do whatever they want to do without any kind of accountability.
Because that's how I feel. And those are that's my personal perspective
Which is exactly
on life.
why men should not listen to women when they need to do what they're supposed to do.
Fine.
This is why we tell them this. This is exactly the problem.
You don't have to, I never asked anybody to listen to me. But what I'm saying is people need the ability. That's why we have down low men, because people
they're not
can't
accountable.
Express themselves. They can't they can't say things because you got other people saying, no, you have to live in this box. You have to do this. You have to do that. And then you got a lot of confused people that do need counseling as well, or therapy or whatever, or coaching.
And in the meantime, they leaving a whole trail of women that's lined up at the clinic, and more women in Atlanta, for example, in the down low capital, is being infected with all of these diseases as a result of people not taking responsibility and ownership, and then people like you supporting them as a result.
No, because they're made to feel bad about their life.
You're treating the symptom, you're not treating the problem, and that's the real problem.
The world doesn't owe you understanding, so
that's
you just
correct.
you have to own up. So, like, I understand what you're saying, Nick, because you're very empathetic and very sympathetic, which is wonderful. But when you take a step back and you really think about how your action can affect so many other people, generations, people have to take a step back and really think about how they can be accountable for those things.
I get that, but if you do things that don't affect other people, like I don't really know, what happens after people do whatever it is that they do. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, there has to be space. I don't want to go as far as like affecting someone with HIV, but I do think that people should be allowed, like, if you're born, you have a human right to be whoever you are. And, you shouldn't be made to feel bad because the Christians are on you about, being gay or, whatever it is. I think that people should have that space because this is their world too. They were brought in it. They need that space to exist.
Well, don't be on the down low and stop getting married to people and then subjecting them.
I agree. But see, I agree with that.
Believing that you're supposed to be a specific type of way. Don't nobody want to hear your excuse, yo.
Like, okay. Yeah, I mean, you heard it, right? I mean, listen, I think the lady that came on against Anton was a good, I guess, muse for the conversation, because I don't know where she was coming from. And whatever she was talking about didn't sound like empathy to me. It was something more insidious. I don't know what kind of marriage she has, but I know for sure my wife would never be talking like that. No way. I mean, I think her husband might have a few women on the side, or she's banging out somebody herself and wants to be absolved for it. So I don't know where she was coming from. But the point is that Anton pretty much sounds the same today as he did 3 years ago. So there's got to be something to say for consistency. But he used the words I use, consequences. I mean, it's a big thing. When you understand the consequences of your actions, you're more than halfway there. And that means that the decisions you make, good and bad, are based on, facts and not feelings. Because the consequences of opening that sexual door with a partner is real. That's not imaginary. And a lot of people just skip that part, just because of a little bit of pleasure. And it's gotten us into a bad space, so the numbers ebb and flow, but there's a lot of diseases, a lot of traumatized women, and a lot of wayward men out there because of the way we go at each other without commitment. Well, anyway, so Del Monte, you still up there?
Yeah, I'm up here right now. What's going on?
Yeah, man. You got. Go ahead, man. You got something to chime in?
That girl was straight.
Welcome aboard.
That girl was gone as hell. She was just trying to act a fool for some attention for the situation. Trying to show shit. Come on, man. That girl knows she wasn't making no goddamn sense.
Yeah, I know. But what do you think about consequences in general that we're talking about when you open up that door for a sexual encounter? Casual or otherwise, outside of marriage?
Boy, you can start some shit. Boy, you don't even know what you're starting. So you need to think about what you're doing sometimes. Do you want to contend? Does this motherfucker right here Do you want to see this person again, even give them some dap later, even if it don't work out? I mean, hey, you know,
Yeah, you're right.
you know what I'm saying? How is this person going to react to the situation? And then who's behind them that they messing with that want to come after you, but you don't know nothing about it? The equation is crazy, and the chessboard is got landmines on it.
No doubt, man. That sure does. I'm just thinking that, you know, just being up on these YouTube streets, I started thinking about all the times I hear men, telling other men to, have dick discipline, but they never really get to the crux of why should anybody listen to you, especially if you're older, not older like me, but if you're in your 40s, you're on your grind, you might be all well shaven, and the guys know that you were banging out chicks when you were his age, and now you're telling me to be, dick discipline, without acknowledging the fact that just like every normal man, we want to have sex with women. So you got to tell guys that, yeah, I'm not telling you to be abstinent, but if you do, just know what you're getting yourself into and act accordingly. And I think that's a better message. And I was going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. I got one for the women. It's not as long as it is for the men, but I have one for the women because it's not necessarily my place, but I want to give you ladies out there a little taste of what I think happens to you guys when you try to stroke around the world like men. And I think you've been sold a bill of goods. And I think you guys know you've been sold a bill of goods because when I get to the women's clip, no, don't play that. Don't play that yet. Don't play that yet. Yeah. When I get to the women's clip, you're going to know why. Because and it's significant that it's a white woman, because I think a lot of black women are the way they are based on the feminist movement. And you took with the bullshit that they said and you put it on steroids. And but here goes. All right. I think one of the biggest problems we have is that older ladies tell younger women to go enjoy their lives when they're at their peak, their peak, I guess, value in terms of age and prowess. And that it's just a euphemism to go and, jump around from Johnson to Johnson. And you can say it all the kind of ways you want. Explore life, be free, if get this and get that. All it translates to is go from dick to dick. That's what that means. And I think the older ladies understand that's what that means. And even if they don't mean it nefariously, they know themselves that they're inherently telling young women to do the wrong thing, because this is ageless. This part is ageless, because every woman who's had a lot of Johnson understands the trauma that goes along with it. And when older ladies tell the younger ladies that, I think they're saying that because they want misery, that misery loves company, right? Because they know, and I'm gonna tell you why. My theories about why women should not consider going on a carousel as empowerment. That's a lie. That's the lie that the devil tells you. That's not the lie that the Lord made. It's definitely not. It comes straight from hell, because women experience sex a whole lot different than men do. And it's supposed to be that way. I'm not saying you don't like it. I'm not saying you don't want it. But there's merit in them to withhold it for men. There's benefits in that. Anyway, so let me go ahead down my little thing of why I think that, female sexual promiscuity without consequence has its own problems, and it comes from the devil, and it doesn't come from anywhere that you would hold dear. So this whole horse shit that is empowerment is a lie. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. When women have sex with men, you guys absorb a man's power. You absorb his energy. You really do. I mean, whether you're on top and you think you're a boss babe and all this other horse shit, let me tell you, You absorb his power. Okay, so I could give you the analogy that works for me, right? And you kind of listen up because I'm not really getting on your case because I love you guys, right? Just want y'all to learn something from good old Mr. Old Pain here. If you know anything about capacitors, right? A capacitor is a piece of equipment that absorbs energy. It absorbs energy and it has a capacity, but it stores energy. But unlike a capacitor, that energy could be dissipated, right? You could plug a computer in, you could plug your cell phone in, your refrigerator, your air conditioner, and you could dissipate that energy because that's what capacitors do. It stores energy one place so you could use it somewhere else. Well,
Or
you
I
know,
could explain it like this, Thing.
so what?
I could
No,
explain it the other way.
let me finish.
Okay,
Let
my
me
bad.
let me finish. You could come in and you can say it your way. So a woman, you're a living capacitor, right? You go from man to man. He's depositing his energy in you, and it doesn't all go away once the encounter is over. It doesn't, right? That energy gets stored, right? Not only that, it builds up. Right. And there's no way for you when the way you don't have other things that you could plug in to dissipate that energy. It manifests itself in different ways. Right. This is why it's not good for a woman to have so many different lovers because you absorb that energy and you take it with you. And here's how it might manifest itself when it tries to dissipate. Right. Because mentally is the only way you could dissipate that. Right. So it changes your behavior. If you could, I could tell, and most men could tell the difference between a woman who's a whore and a woman who's not. Not that the other woman never has sex, but you could pretty much tell based on the way they move and based on the way they react and and all that kind of stuff. Then there's a loss of respect if people know what you're doing from the people you admire. Forget about the other people you don't care about. You get loss of respect because of the person you admire. The other thing is that your attitude in general towards men changes because you have so many encounters of men who just got up out of bed, maybe threw a few dollars at you, but just walked out of the room and never caught one, didn't even know your name. How could that be good? Right? So, and then I got a couple more, right? Not to mention, the more promiscuous you are, the more prone to disease. And the numbers already say that. So we already know that. We don't have to go down that path. The impacts on children. You're having, when a woman says, I have, in a short period of time, I got 4 babies from 5 baby daddies, because one guy, she's not sure about the 4th and the 5th guy, she's probably trying to get child support out of both of them. But the point really is that if one of those kids, especially a son, and he looks like one of the fathers that you can't stand no more, I can guarantee you take it out on that son. I can guarantee you take something out on that kid. And what you're giving that kid is probably not love. Okay. And it messes with your self-esteem. Having men just use you that way, it doesn't matter whether they're paying you or not. Most people don't get paid like that. They just have it. So it causes trauma. And the reason why I know that there's a lot of trauma, because your women are all over the internet talking about all the trauma y'all have. And all the trauma that y'all have can be traced back to somebody's penis. So this is another reason why it's good to understand that you should be somewhat chaste, somewhat conservative in your approach to sexuality. And the empowerment movement that people told you about, it's a lie. It's absolute lie. And it's not like me as a man saying, hey, you know what, I can have all the sex, but it's not as easy for men to have sex as women. It's no great feat for a woman to get laid. It's not. It doesn't matter how pretty you are. I mean, some of the ugliest, biggest chicks are getting laid. They ain't getting the cream of the crop, but if they want to get laid, women, it's no big chase to find a man who wants to lay down with you. It really not. So there's no real flex in it. I mean, you might think it is. Let me also say that being promiscuous actually lowers your sexual marketplace value for the men you want. You can sit down here and you can argue with men and all of us till you're blue in the face. Maybe for the rank and file dude, but for the man you want, if he knows you've been around the block 100 times, that might be one time a little bit too many for him, right? Because all the men in the West, we have already accepted we ain't getting no virgin. We already have. We just want to know that if there's anything left in it for us. And that brings us to the pair bonding. I mean, there's different people say there's no impact on that and this and that. But it's not true. It is an impact because the oxytocin is a hormone that you guys release during sex. And just like insulin or other things like type 2 diabetics, they still have insulin. It just doesn't work well anymore because they burned it out. Right. So certain glands, they might still be operating, but you abuse them so bad, they don't work as well as they used to. So if you had 100 lovers, they say over 5 lovers, your ability to pair bond, I would probably argue with that number. But there is a number out there where your capacity is so full, you can't have a meaningful relationship with a man. That's why porn stars have a tremendously hard time finding anybody who wants to marry.
It's disgusting.
They do get married, but the kind of guy that they married is a guy who becomes a pariah in his own neighborhood. Riley Reid did it. Now, her husband is excommunicated from his family. So anyway, so this is why. So women, I would prefer you guys, just like I said, you got to tell women the truth. Tell them about the consequences of having so much sex. Nobody, you could tell them, I'm not saying you need to be a virgin, but you don't need 100 dicks to know what a dick feels like. Just like I didn't need 100 women to know my way around a woman's body. I didn't. I just had enough. And so I know what I'm not missing anything by settling down with my wife. And women, you guys know it inherently that jumping from man to man has not paid off at all, especially if you're not a prostitute, right? Because you ain't getting money. You're doing it for just shits and giggles. And every time you leave a little piece of yourself, a man leaves a little piece of himself inside you, it diminishes you. It does. And we can argue till we're blue in the face. You women understand that shit. Y'all really do. So I don't know. So all I can say now is when you know better, you should do better and teach better. But teach the consequence. Just like I said, for the men, we got consequences. For the women, you make up your own list. But there's consequences. The worst of which is the disease. And probably a second is having kids that you don't want. How many women do we have to hear on this damn social media with children that's driving them crazy by themselves? And you could blame that shit on a man all you want, because a man might be paying child support, but doesn't want to have shit to do with his kids. You know why? Because he can't have a financial abortion. But when you guys don't want your kids, y'all could go to the clinic and erase the kid. A man don't have that option. So even if he's forced to pay, it's not going to make him into a good father. It's not, or a supporting man in your life. Some guys do, most guys do, even if they make a mistake. But still, the ones who don't, and let me tell you, we're coming to a point where the government is not going to be bailing your asses out. It's coming to that point. Even already, some of those Section 8 stamps ain't working where you want them to work. So I'm just telling you, being somewhat not chaste, what's the word? Virtuous. Finding virtue is the real flex. There used to be men who wanted to marry women just so they can have sex with them. And not because they didn't love the woman, it's because they were willing to wait, willing to go through whatever it is, through the fire, to win your hand in marriage. You know what I'm saying? And now, men don't even want to take you on a date. They don't even want to fucking give you chicken dinners. It's all in your hands, because they say women control access to sex, and it's true. It's your womb. Anyway, so that's the end of my rant there. I'm just saying, just consequences to your actions, and you guys can change those consequences by telling each other the truth. That's all it is. And nobody's saying you need to be virgins and all that shit. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's got to be some governors on what you do. Just got to be. So whatever you call it, maybe it's not dick discipline, maybe it's P discipline. Learn it, embrace it, and use it to your advantage. So I'm done with that rant. But if you wanted to say something, Beans, before I go, and then Trey, and then we can put on that video. Go ahead, Beans. You Green Beans, you up there?
He's not up here. He got disconnected.
Okay. What's up, Trey?
What's good with you?
Man, I just felt like ranting today. What you got on the subject, man? You're the single man. Bro, listen, let me say this to you. Every time you come up here, you tell people that you understand the consequences.
I mean, yeah, I do.
You know, that's what I'm saying, man.
Which is why I have one child by one woman, because I understand the consequences.
I mean, so let me ask you: do you ever? I mean, what's your conversation like when you talk to guys if they ask you about these questions?
I gotta be honest with you, we don't talk about discipline. It's a weird topic.
Well, when you talk about the money stuff with these guys, they didn't even get on that. I mean, but the point really is, maybe the question is better said that. I mean, just seems like some guys act like they're telling guys not to have sex. You can't tell a man that. That's my problem, man. You know, you can't tell a young man in his formative years put all these things ahead of having sex, because in the back of his mind, he's always thinking about sex. So, I mean, there is a point at which, you know, it diminishes and more important things take over. So it's got to be, hey, listen, if you're going to have sex, understand that these things could happen to you. And that goes for women too. But
yeah, but it's typically a worst case scenario conversation, right? Like it's like, oh, well, you know, if you have sex, well, you could get her pregnant. I've had sex hundreds of times. I only got one kid. You know what I mean? Like it's like that. Though, right? It's a fear mongering, like scare tactic conversation. Always. Like people have sex all the time. And they don't get pregnant.
No. I hear you, but do you take those precautions most of those time, or you just going in raw?
You know what I find funny? I find it funny that we are always worried about the consequences of like having children out of wedlock, but nobody has the same argument for marriage. Like nobody has the same argument for marriage. Like it's like, oh, be careful. Don't smash raw. Don't do this raw. Don't do that. You can get a disease. You can get that. We have all of this.
Well, if you're married, you're not supposed to worry about it.
But then when we start talking about marriage, it's like, well, just do it. You know, it'll work out. Just go for it.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. But once you're married, those concerns should go away. I mean, they should, right? Oh, no.
The divorce rate is way too hard. It's way too high for that to be a fact.
So we should be putting the rubber on it even when we're married.
Even if you aren't, I'm just saying, like the divorce rate doesn't say that. You know, when you get married, like, oh, you should be able to just do whatever you want. I mean, we have all these statistics about sexless marriages and guys getting married and they ain't having sex at all, right? We talk about guys who use escorts and prostitutes and OnlyFans. Majority of them are married men. Majority of the men who watch adult films are married men. Like the men who are in these marriages are the ones who suffer the most. And we want to talk about discipline. It's like, well, he was disciplined, and look what happened.
Okay, now I see where you're coming from. Okay, but men are not getting as married as much anyway. Not necessarily. Men are not getting married that much anymore. But once you are married, let's just say once you are married, a lot of these concerns are supposed to go away. Like if you outside of a plan, you get your wife pregnant, and you're married. Then you say, okay, shit, the plan has just changed. But it shouldn't be, you shouldn't go to DEFCON 20, right? I mean, the bottom line is you're going to deal with it because that's why y'all got married. It's just maybe it was a year or two earlier. And now, if you're catching diseases from your wife or your husband, that's a whole nother matter, man. Because you have an expectation that if you're going to cheat, you're going to protect yourselves. At least from that.
Do you know how most married people find out that their spouse is cheating?
Probably through some kind of disease.
STD.
Yeah.
through an STD. A lot of them
Yeah,
find out.
but I don't know what the numbers. Yeah, but we talk about. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna play the. I don't think. So first of all, I was gonna play the old card, but I don't want to open that shit up to you. You have to get that office up right here. Listen, that's an exception, still the rule, right? I mean, I don't know if it's the most. You think most
getting
people,
pregnant is an exception into the rule?
not when you married though.
But my thing is if we're depolicing and the we're saying the consequence is you could get someone pregnant and or you could catch an STD.
A disease, right?
Right. When you put in the numbers of how many people are actually having sex, right, versus how many babies are actually coming, versus how many STDs are actually coming, those numbers don't make sense.
Yeah, but it's okay. I know, I hear you, but okay, so maybe disease is more prevalent than a baby. That's for sure. The disease are prevalent, but even with that, it only matters to the ones it happens to, right? So if I talk to 10 guys, maybe all 10 of them will dodge the bullet. But every man that I know that had a history of sexual activity that lived long enough, they were waiting for that phone call. They were waiting for that phone call from the chick. Yeah, it came. It just came last night. You know, you were waiting for her to have a period. I missed a couple of days. I missed a week. And you're saying, holy shit, man, what's going on? Almost every guy I know has gone through that shit. Even if you were careful, most of your encounters didn't have any problem, but there's always that one time or so you was waiting for the phone call. Thank God, this shit didn't happen. Okay, come on.
And there's plenty of videos of married men when they find out that their wife is pregnant with the third kid, they have a visceral reaction like, another kid. Like this is just the nature of being a man. It's going to happen, especially if you raw dogging. If you raw dogging, then yeah. Here's the thing. I think we don't put enough emphasis on reiterating to men because we know they're gonna have sex. I think me and you agree on that. Our pain, men gonna have sex. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Put a damn condom on, right? Like this should be more about protecting yourself versus what's going on with her. I wear a condom for me. Ain't got shit to do with her. I wear it for me. I think we have to teach men that this is more about you than it is about her.
Well, that's true, but okay, but putting the condom on is also understanding that there's a consequence. Even if the majority of your encounters don't come out with a baby, or might not even come out with a disease, if the woman's checked out. Some people actually check out the woman before they have sex. Putting the condom on is still a prudent thing to do because of that off chance that some shit might happen. Now, only thing I would have with you in a marriage, I ain't wearing no goddamn condom.
And that's fine, but let's keep it real. We talking about consequences. Well, marriage has consequences too.
Yeah, but
there are men who got married thinking they was going to be able to have more sex. They were having discipline.
Yeah,
they were doing the right thing, right? They got into a marriage and they ain't getting nothing.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, that's the man who got a woman who chameleon his ass. I mean, but that's not. There's a lot of those marriages, but I pity the fools, man. That's why one of my things is, what's the sexual battle rhythm before you get married? What is it?
But if you did, if you're being disciplined, you're not having sex before you get married.
No, I didn't say not to have no sex.
So you're for premarital sex now.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I am.
I'm just saying that, but you should put a condom on until you pass some kind of Rubicon. That's what I'm saying. If it's with a random chick, you should have a condom on. Now, to say if I did it every time, no, but I dodged the bullet.
She's going to be random until she's your wife. Technically, she's a random until she's your wife.
When you're courting and you got the ring on her finger and stuff like that, she still could be random. But if your woman is moving like she's a rando, even with a ring on your finger, then you made a mistake already, and you should say, "Hey, hold on, man." I tell my wife was all over me, man, before we got married, man. Jesus Christ, I had to drop her off at home and say, "Okay, go home,"
Bullshit.
I'm just saying, either you tell a single man, to be disciplined, right?
Okay.
And then the single men are disciplined, they do the right thing, they get married, and then there's still a consequence because they could marry a woman who, you know, maybe the sex was at a high number before they got married, and now that number is decreased a lot because of responsibilities, and you know, there's a comfortableness of comfort with each other. There's a lot of like I feel like either way, the man he loses either way.
Yeah, but see, that part is fear mongering though. You're fear mongering the guy to get. You know what I'm saying?
Your entire argument, this entire
but that was before
is based off of fear mongering.
No, what I'm saying, no, it's about men understanding consequences. Once you get married, you can't stop. I'm not gonna get married because I'm worried about the chick withholding the pussy. I mean, I've never heard a man say that. I mean, I hear that.
That's because they've been fooled into thinking they're gonna get the same amount or more. There's a lot of, I'm dead serious. I'm being honest with you. There's a lot of men who think if I get married, we're gonna continue the same sexual pattern, the same quantity of sex we were having before, or it's gonna ramp up. And maybe it does ramp up for a little while as you're newlyweds. You know what I mean? It's a new thing. But eventually it wears off. You cannot tell me that people who are married in their 8th, 9th, 10th year are having the same amount of sex as they did before they got married. No, there's no way.
No, it's hold on. Let's get it straight. Now, maybe you ain't on each other like puppy dogs, but just not because y'all don't want to do it. It's that the times you do it, you both appreciate it. As long as that appreciation is still there, and if you need it and she doesn't need it, there's always different things a woman could do. So I'm just telling you that that's no reason not to get married. Once you establish a battle rhythm, the sexual biorhythm with your girl, I think at some point you should always know how to get that shit out of
them. The sentimental act does not help a man ejaculate. At the end of the day, these men want to have sex because there is something that needs to be had at the end of the day. There's a climax that needs to be reached. And that doesn't change because they got married. For a man,
but you're the one saying it changed. I'm just saying, okay.
No, I'm saying that there's a consequence to getting married too. I'm saying that for men, you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you are disciplined before you get married, and you could get married, you could do the right thing, get married, and you could still get fucked on the back end because your wife don't want to have sex with you. At least not as often as you want it. You fucked either way.
All I'm just trying to say is it sounds like a real big barrier for you, right? I don't think that's a big enough barrier for people not to get married.
Bullshit.
which is why a lot of these dudes is miserable and or cheating. That's why they're cheating.
Let me tell you, man. All I'm just trying to say is maybe that's just not my experience. But I think some ways you should be able to understand that if your woman likes having sex with you, right? If she does, and that's one thing you want to know, she likes having sex with you. It's not transactional. She just likes to have sex with you. I think that'll take you a lot further than if, it was awkward and shit, to begin with, and then you get married, then the babies come and all that kind of shit. I mean, sometimes you got to tell the honey, say, hey, listen, shit, you my only goddamn outlet. You are. And then a lot of guys won't say shit. They'll just go off into the corner, man, and cry, man. I wouldn't let that shit happen. I just wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of guys I believe who are like me. You will say, "Fuck that, man. You gotta give up the ghost." At least. But I mean, I didn't have to be on my wife every second to know that she still wanted to give me some ass, man. Poke a bullet, so okay, it still works. That's
bullshit.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, but I don't. But see, to you're giving me something. You're giving me a little information. That's another thing on your list, or why you're not going to get back. You don't know if the chick's going to turn on you.
No, I'm not really concerned about the sexual part. As I work on trying to be more obedient to God at sex, I've had to put sex in a different category.
Okay.
I've almost had to act like it's not really that important to do what's necessary for me to do,
to
right?
Make the choice.
To make the choices, right? But I also remember, the younger me, and it's like, I get with this chick and she wants to get married. I'm like, yo, we having sex all the time. This is great. And in your head, you're thinking, this is how it's always going to be. Until you go talk to an older couple, and he's like, nah, bruh, it's not going to be like that. Yeah, it's good right now. And so my thing is we're telling men, okay, be disciplined. And I agree to some degree. I do agree that you need to be, I don't know if it's necessarily disciplined. I always say you need to be bougie and selfish with it. Some women just aren't good enough, and you shouldn't give it to them because of the chaos and the crap that they bring along with them, right?
Okay.
But most guys are going. Listen, if she giving it up, they're going to take it, especially in this day and age where men are having less and less sex, right? And so if he gets with a woman, he thinking, "Oh, I did the right thing. I waited till I got a woman, and I was disciplined." And then he in this marriage, he like, "Man, I'm maybe once a month, maybe like this is crazy." He had consequences. He did it the right way. There's a consequence. He does it the wrong way. There's a consequence. Like, how does he win?
I think it's a certain kind of class of guys whose wives stop giving them sex. I really do. I think the circumstances are not as dire as I think it's read. I mean, because you hear the stories, and if you hear a lot of those stories, then that seems to dominate. I just think that does your sexual activity wane? But it depends on both parties. You know, if your wife was like a big initiator of the sex, right? That would be the first indication that she's turning it off, and she's no longer an initiator. But if you married a woman where you had to be an initiator most of the time, then you were the one who was the measuring stick. Because if you stop initiating, right, you can't expect her to switch. So if she's satisfied with you not initiating enough, then that's one story. So there's just different ways to look at it. Because bullshit. That's just fucking. Who the fuck is that? Okay. Anyway, listen. Let me play that last video because this video is about the lady talking about empowerment and the way things change. You can start it from the beginning. Right?
Emily, what's on your radar?
Well, let's talk about Michelle Goldberg. Last week, the New York Times columnist published a post-Me Too reevaluation of sex positivity. This week, she slammed the ACLU for modifying a Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote to neutralize references to women. But casual sex and gender neutrality are pillars of the contemporary feminist pitch. Goldberg, one of the most prominent feminist writers in media, is effectively rebuking both of them. She isn't alone either. In July, BuzzFeed published a deep dive headlined, "These Gen Z women think sex positivity is overrated," reporting that, quote, uneasiness with sex positivity is bubbling to the surface, especially in some Gen Z quarters. Quote, we all really embraced third wave feminism and sex positivity, and it impacted us so negatively, a 23-year-old rape survivor told the outlet. Being told that you should be having sex with people you don't have any relationship with really put in our minds that sex doesn't matter. I feel like we all just kind of got effed over. Now, in a column that referenced the BuzzFeed story, Goldberg observed, quote, sex positivity now seems to be fading from fashion among younger people, failing to speak to their longings and frustrations. Goldberg said, I started noticing the turn away from sex positivity a few years ago when I wrote about a revival of interest in Andrea Dworkin's work. Since then, there have been growing signs of young women rebelling against a culture that prizes erotic license over empathy and responsibility. Here's the best part. Somehow, she concludes, as sex positivity went mainstream and infused with a culture shaped by pornography, attention to emotion got lost. Somehow? Well, maybe the proliferation and intensification of pornography had something to do with all of the sex positivity. On the changes to Ginsburg's quote, which argued for abortion rights, Goldberg wrote, quote, changing Ginsburg's words treats what was once a core feminist insight that women are oppressed on the basis of their reproductive capacity as an embarrassing anachronism. She spoke specifically about women for a reason, Goldberg said. That is exactly right. Earlier in the column, Goldberg also criticized the, quote, Orwellian effect of altering language. That's two blows against the dogma of cultural leftism in one dogmatic cultural leftist column, and two columns in a row. So again, as with her argument on sex positivity, Goldberg was hardly the only person to criticize the ACLU from the left over the, quote, change. She even got the organization's executive director to admit his regret. So while it's interesting that Goldberg, one of the staunchest feminists in corporate media, issued gentle but pretty fundamental.
That's tough. Hey, you can stop it. Hey, you know what, Dave? You can stop it. Yeah, you know what? So she says a lot of stuff to say. Women are starting to understand that just giving away the pussy hasn't been that beneficial. You know, I mean, she said I wanted to elevate the vernacular up here a little bit. You know, she's saying all this stuff to say, you know what, we fucked ourselves out of the market. You know, essentially that's what she was saying. So I'm saying that it's being recognized. She's a white girl, so it's significant that I'm not so sure how well the sisters understand that, you know what, you've overstayed your welcome by giving it away. But maybe, you know, since y'all follow the white girls with the weaves and all that shit, maybe you'll follow them on this one too, because all the feminists was for white people and y'all took it up. So it's just in a bad sense when it comes to women, just riding the carousel hasn't been your best move. It just hasn't been your best move. Not especially if you're looking for some of the best men to settle down with when you're all beaten and worn in your 30s. You know, so it's up to you. And I think it's the older women need to start telling the younger ones something different. You know, I think, and consequence has a lot to do with that too. Anyway, so I mean that's it. That's the only last clip I have. But what do you think about?
Well, no shit. No shit that women tie emotions and sex together. No shit. Wow. What? You don't say. You think?
Okay.
I think this has been known for thousands of years, in which is why men would try to protect a woman's promiscuity. Because we already knew.
That's right.
We already knew women in sex is a whole lot different than men in sex. You cannot go around doing what we do. It will affect you differently.
Absolutely.
I say this a lot. Women have to get slapped. I don't mean that in the literal definition. I mean it figuratively, as in you have to show them, and then they see it. It's like, oh, okay, the fire is hot. You told me not to put my hand in the fire, but now that I burned myself, I get it. It's like men were screaming this. They're trying to tell you, don't do this. The free love movement and the sexual liberation and Gloria Steinem and all this other nonsense, right? Telling you you can have sex with whomever you want. And then you start to realize that the men said, okay, cool. So wait, I can hit it?
Yeah, that's right.
I've been wanting to hit it. Cool.
That's right.
You gonna let me hit it? You're not gonna feel bad about it? No, you do feel bad about it. When that number starts to creep towards 10, that number starts to creep towards 15 and 20 and 40 and 50. You're starting to realize that you're having sex with a bunch of men, but you ain't getting nothing back in return. And meanwhile, the men are happy. Because to us, it's like taking a piss. It's a biological function for us. Now, can it mean something to us if it's a woman that you love? Absolutely, of course. Right? But for most men, I just need to get this off.
Right.
And you allow him to use your body to get that off and think that he's going to feel the same way. He's not. It's different for us. The dopamine affects us differently. And for you, it attaches to your emotional receptors. You want to feel closer to him. No shit. It only took you 65 years to figure this out.
But Trey, the point really is that why would women listen to men about this? They don't listen to us about anything else. You know what I'm saying? That's the point.
And this is to my point, R-Pain. They have to get burned by the fire first. Right. Now I think they're starting to, oh shit, this fire's hot. I should have listened to the man that cared about me. My brother, my uncle, my father, somebody who told me, keep your legs closed. All the boys want from you is sex. There's no such thing as a male friend. We tell you these things because I was that male friend waiting for you to slip up one night.
Exactly.
And now you face down ass up with your butthole in the air, trying to figure out what's going on. Well, I was your friend. That's what happened. We keep trying to tell you these things to protect you from what we know is coming. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so now that you see this, and it's like, oh, well, you know, we have to put restrictions on y'all because if we let y'all do it y'all way, this is what we get.
This is what we get. And so, you know, again, and we have the proof though, right? Men, we don't see men coming up here when they're 30 years old with trauma for having too much girls. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I don't even want to see a man cry that he had too much sex. What are you talking about? So we don't, but we see just loads and loads of women come up here, and they still don't really want to take accountability for the fact that they've just kind of sold their souls to the devil. Because men benefit from promiscuous women, you know, and, you know, we benefit, you know, and sometimes that benefit doesn't have you don't get nothing back in return for that, you know, and then when it's time for you to settle down, and there might be a time where you might want to, depending on how many people know what you've done and what kind of woman you are, you ain't getting the best dudes. You're just not, you know, and don't start a goddamn OnlyFans. Don't. I don't care what anybody tells you. That's not your way out. Because that shit will follow you. And it will follow you not with just the best man. It'll follow you into the corporate headquarters and everything else. So don't be stupid, man.
You cannot scrub the internet. Mia Khalifa has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to scrub the internet of her adult films. She can't do it.
No.
She can't do it. She can't get rid of them. That stuff never goes away. And I'm not even just talking about the OnlyFans. I think that's an extreme example, right? A majority of women aren't on OnlyFans, right?
Yeah,
but a lot of you women sext. You send nude pictures to men.
Yeah, that's right.
You send videos to men. You think you trust him. Oh, he's my this, he's my that. Stop doing that. I know that sounds crazy for me to say. Don't do that. Because it takes one guy to get pissed off, and you on Reddit now.
And that sexual law ain't gonna save you, because once it's out there, it's out there.
He won't care.
Right.
He won't care. Yes, there's a law against, retaliatory, adult film, stuff. But there's still an investigation that has to happen.
Yeah.
You got to prove that he did it. And if you send him pictures and videos out to a bunch of different guys, how do you know who it was? So, this whole idea that we were trying to control, we were not trying to control you. We knew the end game. The end game was men were not going to take you seriously, and that you were going to feel like trash about it. You were going to be insecure about it. You yourself. We got a lot of things in this world said that women put over 170 different chemicals on their body every day.
Damn.
From makeup to the shampoo to the conditioner to the lotions to the perfumes. They're just chemicals. Men are trying to protect women from this because we understand that everything affects y'all. And because it affects y'all, it ultimately affects the men too. So this whole idea, nobody's trying to control you. We just see things. We're like, yo, this is not a good look.
So let me ask you, man, what would you think what's the way out? Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I don't want to get political, right? But everything we're saying that on one side is a proliferation, whatever, will perpetuate what we're talking about. The other side has its own other quirks. But in terms of debauchery, broken families, population control, and all this kind of stuff, the extreme liberal part of our country, that's where we're going. You know, that's where they're going. They're trying to drive the wedge through anything that's sacred. I mean, they hate Christians. You know, they hate the demonic stuff is on the forefront. And listen, if it was any other man besides Trump, but thought like him, but didn't have that bad record, I think the Dems would get trounced. I think they would get trounced.
Yeah, it's absolutely because they just don't like him.
That's
plain
right.
And simple. They just plain old just don't like him. Because if you listen to the words that come out of his mouth, he's for families. Yeah. He's for education. He's for
America.
He's for America. Everything that you would want out of a president. He just has terrible character. Plain and simple.
Exactly.
Plain and simple.
And you can't argue that point. That's the point. You can't really argue that. So anyway, but listen,
I'll say this to answer your question real quick, R-Pain.
Yeah, any way out. Yeah,
I think we have to accept bygones, because you said earlier, like, the older women need to teach them something different. But they taught them what they knew, and this is what we got, right? I'm just being honest. The older women are the one who told them it's okay, it's all right for you to do this, and this is what we got. I think what we have to do is we have to start with the younger girls, right? from starting at age 8, we're talking about girls can get pregnant at 8 or 9, which is insane to me at this point, right? But you got to start that early and teach them how to protect not only their womb, but how to protect their sexual prowess. You know, listen, it's okay to be horny and all these. It's all right. That's a natural hormonal flow. It's gonna happen. You're gonna see cute boys. You're gonna like them. That's gonna happen.
Okay.
But there has to be a line in a sand where we teach young girls, if you do this, this is the direction you're gonna go down. And we're trying to avoid you going down that direction. Keep your legs closed, right? Because for the boys, his hormones are raging, and he doesn't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He doesn't care. You're going to care. You're going to like him.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking about young girls, teenage girls who are having sex, and college girls. You're going to like this guy.
That's right.
Right? And you're going to have sex with him thinking that's going to keep him. It's not going to keep him. He's going to go somewhere else. So you have to protect it. And then it has to be confirmed and enforced by the parents who say, listen, don't go down this path. I did X, Y, and Z. This is how I felt. I'm trying to keep you from
making that mistake. You know, and that's pretty much one of the things I was saying. Here's the consequence. And let me also give you some truth. I was there. So I'm not just trying to tell you something. I'm trying to tell you how I felt and what I did when I was your age, and the outcome of it was not favorable. And that's why I'm trying to save you from that. And I think we need to that's what we need. And I call that consequence driven, right? That's, you know, hey, and whether a person takes heed to your message or not, take heed. You know, that's up to them. You know,
and I'm a little bit more radical. I don't think it ends there, though. Now, this is just me personally.
Okay.
This is just me personally. I would also tell my daughter, if you do not listen to me, and you do end up pregnant. Did you see that video of the dad who kicked his 14-year-old daughter out the house?
Yeah, I did see that.
Because she got pregnant again.
Twice. Yeah, twice. Yeah.
That's what has to happen. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the older folk, the Gen Xers, the baby boomers, you guys want to bring shame back. Fine. We can bring shame back, but the problem is there has to be a consequence to come along with it. You cannot shame someone and then love on them. It just doesn't work that way. If you watch Game of Thrones, when they made old girl, when they shamed her, they made her butt naked through the city.
Yes.
That's a consequence.
Yeah, she wiped everybody out too, though.
Yep, with everybody out there saying shame, they humiliated her, right? You have to have some sort of consequence to say, listen, I'm telling you, do this, do that. I know how you feel. We've been there. I was 14, I was 15, I was 18, I was 20. I know how you feel. But if you get pregnant, this is what's going to happen. You're going to pack your shit and you're going to get the hell up out of my house, because I'm warning you now not to do it. If we're going to do it, it has to be a consequence. But instead, what we see is, okay, well, I'll take care of the baby and I'll rearrange my life now, and this and that and yada yada yada. Well, what's the consequence? Which is why a 14-year-old can get pregnant for a second time, and now the dad has to kick her out the house.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's you know, I'm glad you added that, because that's exactly how baby boomers in my generation and the X's, that's exactly how we got mad, but they still took care of their kids, and you know, and did all that stuff. I mean, it happened all throughout my family. You know, some people got married, but when they had a kid out of wedlock, there was a couple of yelling and screaming and this and that, but that kid had a place to stay. And so, and I think the young people take advantage of that, because they absolutely know that, yeah, I'll take this browbeating, but you're not going to kick me out. You know, so that's
and if the mom is on government assistance, the cycle just continues. Right. I told you one time I went to a home, the grandmama, the mama, and the granddaughter were all on government assistance in the same neighborhood. She had been there for over 30 years. I don't know how she pulled this off. She had been there for 30 years, because she said it. I don't think she meant to say it, but she's like, I've been here for 30 years. I ain't never seen. I said, wait, you've been here for 30 years? How? So when you have that type of thing going on too, our pain, it's like, okay, well, she knows, well, yeah, she gonna have this baby, but don't worry, we'll just take you down to the office and get you put on the program, and they gonna give you this and they gonna do that. It's like it never ends. And that's because there is no consequence. There has to be consequence. And furthermore, the boys get off scot-free, because the mom the mother, the grandmother, and the great grandmother get stuck with the baby now.
Yeah, but see, you know, it's funny. I was just going to lead into that, right? And this is why, and nobody really thinks about this, that the man in this scenario who has multiple baby mamas, 10, 20, he ruins a whole community because he burdens 20 families. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't understand. I mean, you know, the woman gets the kid, right? So a guy who's a predator in terms of just impregnating women, he puts his burden on the whole goddamn community.
That documentary that JT Vanishing Family, that guy in there pissed me off so bad because he kept saying, well, I mean, I ain't got to worry about it. I ain't having a baby. And I'm like, bruh, you're destroying a community here. Like, you don't realize you're doing this?
It's crazy. Yeah, and you know, so from that standpoint, you know, we don't talk about it because it's whoever has the kid. But I mean, it does that kind of damage is unbelievable. You know, well, one woman will burden one family line, but one guy could burden a whole lot. Oh no! Oh, shit. I keep
you got to nail that thing down, man.
No, I know. Anyway, I can't be banging like you, you know. Anyway. Anyhow,
I mean, there's a way to fix these things. I just think that the idea that we're going to get the older folk to change their mind and teach a new lesson, I think we're past that. I think we have to deal with them right now and get them to teach the younger ones the new lesson. We're sort of hitting the reset button a little bit here. We're sort of starting over a little bit. You know what I mean? And we can get the younger ones to come up and say, no, my mama told me to keep my legs closed. Okay, cool. Because that's what I'm going to tell my daughter. I'm telling her straight up. And she's 5. When that age comes, I'm telling her, listen, you go out here and get pregnant if you want to. You won't be getting no assistance from me. Because I'm telling you now, don't do this.
I'm with you. You know, I am with you. Anyway, so listen, I know we've been talking, any parting thoughts? Anybody else have anything before we go? You got some more parting thoughts there, Trey? You know?
Just put a condom on. You're going to have sex anyway. Protect yourself. I'm just saying, listen, a lot of these guys are going to go out at night. I was watching a video of guys out in Orlando, and it was nothing but, look, they're going to go out, and if the woman is going to allow them to have sex, they're going to take it. But the thing is that, you know, there's a way to protect yourself. Be careful, protect yourself, and, you know, you don't have to have babies. You know, you can have sex and not have babies. There's a way to do that. There's a way to do this so that you don't have these. I hate to even call a child a consequence, but it is a consequence. A child is a consequence. You know, so you don't have these consequences. And the same thing for the women. And here's my message to the women. No matter how this goes, you're gonna get the brunt of it.
That's right.
You got to carry the baby. You got to feed the baby. You are probably more than likely going to be the one with the child. You're going to catch the brunt of it, right? He has opportunity to stay, to leave, to go. You can put him on child support. He still ain't got to come around. He can send the money every month, right? If you know that you're going to take the brunt of it, protect yourself. And you can protect yourself by making him put on protection. And you tell him straight up, if you don't put this condom on, you ain't getting none of this. Plain and simple, right? Protect yourself. That way you don't get caught up, you know, and being upset. Because I see a lot of women, I can tell the women who are happy to be parents, and I can tell the women who are like, this is stressful and this is a burden on me because I have these kids and I don't have any help. I can see it. Well, there's a way to avoid all of that. Put on a condom, be safe, and or shut it down.
That's right. Shut that shit down. Ain't nothing wrong. Listen, ain't nothing wrong with it, man. You know, there was a point when it was easy for them to shut it down. It was easy. I mean, women used to just say no as a matter of course. I mean, back in my day, man, to get a blowy out of a black chick was like, man, shit. You was, you know, they look at you like, what? What are you talking about? This, that, you know, shit. Matter of fact, I don't even want to talk to you no more. You know, so listen, man, but now forget it. Got it. It's all over. But anyway, man, I appreciate you coming up, man. Everybody in the chat, thank you. I hope you got something out of this. There's consequences for both of us, men and women. I say us. I paid my dues. I'm talking about you young folks. You could control your own destiny by just controlling, understanding the consequences of your actions. You could, if you take them, make sure you take precautions to protect yourself at all times. And women, it's not just men who need to protect themselves. If you are looking for the man to do it, you're making a mistake. Once you abdicate your womb to a man, he's going to take sex from you any way you give it. It's as simple as that. That's what we do. So you gotta protect your womb. You just have to, and you can't just put that shit off on the man. Oh, so you did it too. No. Anyway, that shit don't fly no more. Anyway, I appreciate it, Trey, for coming up. Green Beans was up there.
No problem.
Yep. All right, Black David, you can take us out of here. Thank you. Mayhem Monday's next, I believe, right? So take it easy.